Color. We know it as one of our elements of art, and it's no wonder. Not only do we make our artwork with it, but we also express ourselves depending on what mood we're in, what we want our viewers to feel like. Maybe express ourselves by releasing something. Famous artworks utilize it to catch our attention. And between the 1940s and 50s, a whole type of art called color field painting was made, where it's really just works with the viewer being able to focus on color. For this reason, we know it's important and can catch our attention. For this project, you're going to need a few materials. The example I'm showing is using this watercolor. You can use crayons, markers, really anything that you can get your hands on with color. To start, I'm actually not going to sketch out a circle. It's not necessary. A color wheel is really just showing the relationship between colors. For this, I'm not going to use a traditional circle. Instead, I'm just going to show you that in any order, you can show the relationship between colors. So first, I'm going to start with a primary color that is blue. Now that I've got my blue area, I'm going to go ahead and move on to my next primary color. We only have 3: blue, red, and yellow. Next, I'm going to take my red, and I'm going to leave enough space between the blue and the red because I need that space for something. Now, it really doesn't matter what types of blues, reds, or yellows because we know there's different hues of all of those. Right now, I'm kind of using more on the brighter side so that it's easier to be seen in this video. We know that blue, red, and yellow are our primary colors because they are our most basic and most solid colors. You can make all other colors using these 3, but you can't make any of these colors using other colors. As you can see, we've got our primary colors here with space enough to fill in with our secondary colors. Our secondary colors is when we take 2 colors, like that blue and yellow I just pointed to. All we're going to do is layer them here in order to create our next secondary color. Any guess what it might be? By having 1 coat or 1 layer of yellow and 1 coat or even layer of blue, this new color that was mixed is green. Yellow and blue make green. I like using watercolor when first teaching the color lesson because you can actually see how it changes by mixing the colors. So you'll see throughout this video, I'm actually just using my primary colors to paint. My red, my blue, and my yellow. Not because I don't have those colors, clearly you can see a palette full of different colors, but because I want to prove that all I really need are these 3 primary colors in order to make any other color. This is also really good practice for you as an artist because depending on how much of one color you use, it could overpower the other. So I just mixed that blue and that red to create what will be violet, aka purple. Because I just went back and added more red, that purple became a little lighter for me to see. I'm going to move on to my last secondary color in this color wheel. Okay, so what that means is I'm going to take my last 2 primaries that have not been mixed, that space between my red and my yellow to create my last secondary color. Let's see what happens. By layering evenly, having the same amount of red, the same amount of yellow, I get a secondary color of orange. So we can see that our 3 primary colors, depending on which primaries you use, come up with our 3 secondary colors: orange, violet, and green. Now there's still some space in between my circles. What's going to happen is I'm going to actually mix a primary and a secondary this time to create the tertiary. Again, this word is a little tricky for some people. I get triceratops, tertiary, teriyaki. It is tertiary. A tertiary color is taken when you have a primary color, like the blue, and then a secondary color, like the green, to come up with an entirely different color. This color is either going to lean more to either of those colors that I used. It's either going to be a little more blue or a little more green. Either way, you always put the primary color you used in front of that name. So this green that I just created would be called a bluish green because it's darker or has more blue in it. A bluish green. The primary color always is named first and a tertiary color. I'm going to continue going around and creating the last of my tertiary colors by just looking in between these spaces. I can see there's a space between the blue and the violet. So I'm going to go ahead and mix those colors together to create a what? Blue violet or bluish violet, which is going to be darker than that violet I had originally made. Now in this example, I'm still just using primary colors. I'm just going to put more of the primary color. So for my next tertiary color, to show you, I'm just going to be a little more heavy-handed with the red. And add just a tiny bit of blue, because I knew that red and blue made the original violet. By having more red, it'll seem to appear as more of a red violet or a brighter violet. Now remember, I still didn't create a circle for this or any type of organization. As long as you know that your primaries are your 3 basic colors and you know how to combine them to create your secondary colors, the rest of your color wheel should come along perfectly because you're really just looking at these spaces, figuring out what goes where. What I want you to do for this project is pay special attention to the accuracy of your color wheel. Meaning, there's no reason that your orange should be beside your blue. That wouldn't make sense, right? There's no reason that you should be skipping or missing colors. Make sure that you have your 3 primaries, your 3 secondaries, and your 6 tertiary colors for a complete color wheel. I'm going to fast forward the rest of this so that you guys can really witness and see the finished product. All right, so even though we didn't have lines or shapes before, I'm adding them here so you can really see the relationship between primaries and secondaries and those spaces that were left for our tertiaries. These are just how colors are made. Next, we're going to look into color schemes. Color schemes are chosen or selected by the artist because they feel they want some type of coordinating colors that would best complement their artwork. We're going to start with analogous colors first. Analogous is going to be our color scheme that uses neighbors. So when you hear analogous, I want you to think of neighbors. I'm creating these 3 blue dots or blue circles because I already chose my analogous color scheme. I'm going to use the blue, blue-green, and green for my analogous color scheme. What do all of these colors have in common? That's right, blue. So my analogous color scheme should look like this. It's that blue, bluish green, and green. Colors that are neighbors. Next, I'm going to try a complementary color scheme out. When you say complementary, what word stands out? Exactly, complement. Well, using our color wheel, we're going to actually find opposites on the color wheel. Okay? That's because opposites attract. So the blue is right across from my orange. That's going to be a complementary color scheme pairing. So I'm going to put blue and orange next to each other. They're called complementary because they're supposed to complement each other. AKA, neither one of them really overpowers the other. Complementary color pairs can come in different pairs, of course, but I just chose blue and orange. And lastly, in this example is monochromatic. When you have a monochromatic color scheme, it's one color, but it's different shades of that color. So because I use blue in my other examples, I'm going to continue with that and create a monochromatic color scheme. Notice how my blues are getting lighter and lighter. Depending on what material you use, you can get more variations or less variations between your colors. Because I'm using watercolor, I've really got a lot of blues. For your project, I don't want you to create an ordinary color wheel. I want you to be creative. You're still creating a color wheel. I'd still like it in a circle, but you can use different objects to represent your colors. Create your own drawings, something that's beautiful for you. Or maybe you don't have materials to actually draw. Use it from real life. Let's see what you create.